Success isn't handed out, it follows those who take command of their own lives. Every breakthrough, achievement, and lasting impact begins with mastering yourself first. This audiobook will guide you step by step to lead with discipline, clarity, and purpose, transforming daily habits into unstoppable momentum. By applying these principles, you'll gain the tools to think strategically, act decisively, and inspire both yourself and those around you. Subscribe now to unlock practical strategies, actionable insights, and wisdom that turns intention into results, ensuring that your journey toward personal growth and success is deliberate, measurable, and unstoppable. Number 1. Master self-discipline before external achievements. The quiet that comes before dawn is not empty, it is invitation. When the city is still, the mind is clearer, the choices feel sharper, and the smallest act of discipline becomes a loud announcement to the rest of the day. Today, control begins with you. Self-discipline is the muscle that builds everything visible later: reputation, income, relationships, influence. Start there and external rewards follow like the echo of a solid bell. Self-discipline is not punishment. It is an honest agreement with yourself to act in accordance with your highest intention, even when desire pulls the other way. The practice of leading yourself first is daily, granular, and unapologetically practical. It begins with a single decision repeated until it becomes character. The first practical truth is simple: design the battlefield. Willpower in a vacuum is fragile. Environment is the silent general that wins or loses the fight. Remove the easy temptations and place the tools of action within reach. If writing matters, keep the notebook open and the keyboard awake. If fitness matters, leave shoes beside the bed and a water bottle on the nightstand. Tiny friction creates tiny failures. Tiny facilitation creates tiny wins. Change begins with rearranging what surrounds you so that the better choice becomes the path of least resistance. Make a ritual that signals the brain you have entered work. A ritual is not ceremony for ceremony's sake. It is a trigger that moves the mind from wandering to focus. It could be as simple as standing, breathing 3 times, and opening a document. It could be 5 minutes of free writing to clear mental chatter. The specific ritual matters less than its repetition. Repetition builds neural pathways that replace negotiation with automaticity. When discipline no longer taxes debate, it becomes the house you live in. Use the 2-minute rule. If a useful action takes 2 minutes or less, do it now. Write the first sentence. Put on the shoes, wash the dish. 2 minutes might produce little immediate glory, but these small acts accumulate into a day that favors completion. Build momentum with micro-commitments. Promise yourself one small thing and accomplish it. The sense of completion signals the brain to continue. A day stacked with tiny victories becomes a platform for larger achievement. Create a defensive plan for distraction. Notifications are trained predators. They know how to steal attention. Turn off non-essential pings. Place the phone face down, and set specific periods for deep, unbroken work. Use an if-then rule to reduce decision fatigue. If Instagram appears, then close the app and take 20 breaths. If email arrives before noon, then leave it unopened until the afternoon. Pre-deciding removes the daily argument between impulse and intention. That is leadership in its purest form. Decide now, act later without arguing. Measure and record. Discipline without feedback drifts. Track the habit you want to build in a simple way. A checkmark calendar, a 1-line journal, a timed session count. Numbers expose truth. They remove the illusion of I tried and replace it with I did or I did not. At the end of each day, note one thing done well and one thing to improve tomorrow. This reflection is not self-flagellation. It is data gathering. Stoics called this evening review an honest accounting that sharpens the next day's compass. Practice the pre-commitment. When the moment of choice arrives, willpower will be weaker than forecast. Use structural commitments that bind future behavior. Buy a non-refundable class. Schedule a session with a coach. Recruit an accountability partner and report progress each week. External commitments are not surrendering autonomy. They are scaffolding for the self you intend and be. When your future self would otherwise bargain away discipline, those commitments speak in a voice you cannot easily ignore. Learn to embrace discomfort as the necessary currency of growth. Discipline often feels like resistance because it is. It stretches capacity. The body that resists one more rep. The mind that sits for 20 minutes in silence. The worker who finishes a difficult task instead of chasing novelty. These are all practicing the same skill. Reframe discomfort. It is not the enemy, but the signpost that you are enlarging your tolerance for what success requires. Spend time rehearsing small discomforts daily so when larger challenges arrive, the reflex is steadiness rather than surrender. Adopt a stoic checkpoint when emotions rise. Notice without being consumed. When anger, fear, or desire intensifies, use the pause, breathe, name the feeling, and ask which actions are within control. Emotions are fast and persuasive. Discipline is slow and reasonable. Interrupt impulsive cycles with a simple question. What choice serves the life I want? That question quiets drama and aligns behavior with purpose. It moves leadership from reaction to considered action. Cultivate an anchor habit that plants identity. Identity motivates far more reliably than goals. Instead of saying, I will write 10 pages, say, I am a writer who writes daily. Anchor the identity to a daily behavior so that choices reinforce who you believe yourself to be. Actions shape beliefs just as beliefs shape actions. Repeating an identity-based habit rewires self-conception. The person you are becoming makes the disciplined act feel appropriate and necessary. Use the two-track approach to progress. Maintain a daily minimum and pursue growth spikes. The daily minimum is unarguable. It creates consistency. It might be 1 page of writing, 20 minutes of practice, or 20 push-ups. The growth spikes are longer sessions reserved for deep work, once or twice a week. This approach balances the need for steady accumulation with occasional concentrated effort. Over time, consistency compounds in ways peaks alone do not. Prepare for sabotage by external forces and by the inner critic. Enlist practical countermeasures. Schedule a weekly planning session where the week's most important tasks are set and prioritized. When setbacks occur, and they will, document the cause without shame, and then design one remedial action for the next cycle. Replace rumination with a plan. What specifically will you do tomorrow to correct the course? This is responsibility, not blame. Ownership plants the flag for future control. Practice small-scale fasting from pleasure to strengthen resolve. For a day, forego a small comfort deliberately. Social media, sugar, background music. Notice the urge, let it pass, and observe how quickly the mind normalizes to reduce stimulation. These mini fastings build tolerance and remind the nervous system that absence of immediate pleasure is not annihilation. They teach patience and increase the ability to choose delayed rewards without collapsing into impulsive behavior. Anchor discipline with meaning. The strictest routines without a sense of purpose calcify into drudgery. Connect each disciplined act to a larger narrative about who you want to be and whom you wish to serve. When the early alarm feels heavy, recall the person who will be steadier, kinder, and more capable because of this work. When a practice feels petty, remind yourself of the higher intention it supports. Discipline grounded in meaning becomes not a chain, but a compass. Finally, practice compassion toward the self that stumbles. Stoicism is not about cruel perfectionism. It is about clarity and repair. When a day goes wrong, respond with clear acknowledgement and immediate corrective action. Shame immobilizes. Sober responsibility restores motion. The aim is continuous alignment, not spotless record-keeping. Each return to discipline is itself a triumph. The very act of correcting course strengthens the muscle much more than a flawless streak would. Begin tonight by choosing one tiny action you will do tomorrow morning, before any other demand arrives. Make it 2 minutes long if need be. Place the necessary object where your eyes meet first thing. Turn off the phone's temptations until that action is complete. When the alarm sounds, rise, enact the ritual, and mark the day as started. This is not dramatic. It is faithful. It is the practical cadence of self-leadership. Self-discipline is not a rigid decree imposed from without. It is a steady conversation with the person you will become. Lead that person with the quiet courage of repeated small acts. Over weeks, months, and years, those acts will accumulate into a life where success does not chase you. It follows naturally behind the person you chose to lead first. Number 2, clarify values to guide decisions. The foundation of every meaningful decision begins with clarity. When life becomes a storm of choices, opportunities, and competing priorities, the compass that guides you is not convenience, fear, or trend. It is your values. These are the principles that determine not only what you do, but who you become in the process. Without them, even the smartest strategy can feel hollow. With them, even small actions carry power and direction. Clarifying your values is not a philosophical exercise. It is a practical and urgent task for anyone committed to leading themselves first. Values are the invisible architecture of your life. They answer the silent question you often face, but rarely articulate: what matters most? When you are clear about your values, decisions stop being a tug-of-war between desire and distraction. They become natural, consistent, and purposeful. This is because each choice can be measured against a fixed standard. Before investing time, money, or energy, ask, does this align with the person I want to be? Will this action honor the principles I claim to hold? If the answer is yes, proceed. If no, let it pass without guilt. The first step toward clarity is introspection. Sit with a notebook and ask yourself not what you want to achieve in the next month or year, but what you want your life to represent in the long term. What kind of character do you admire? What traits in others inspire respect or trust? Write without censorship. These answers, no matter how scattered at first, reveal patterns: your natural affinities, your ethical preferences, your priorities. Over time, these reflections crystallize into a list of core values that will act as a personal North Star. Once identified, values must be prioritized. Not all principles carry the same weight, and clarity comes from distinguishing essential values from aspirational ones. For instance, honesty may outweigh popularity, or growth may take precedence over comfort. Ranking values forces concrete decision-making. When dilemmas arise, this ranking serves as a tiebreaker. It reduces the cognitive load of constant evaluation. Every choice, large or small, becomes easier to navigate when you know which values cannot be compromised and which are flexible. Living by clarified values demands daily alignment. Awareness alone is insufficient. Values are not theoretical, they are behavioral. Begin by auditing your day-to-day activities. Ask, does this meeting, this task, this interaction reflect the values I hold dear? Actions inconsistent with your values are not mere inefficiencies. They are silent betrayals of your future self. Adjustments do not require perfection. They require consistent course correction. Each time you notice misalignment, you reclaim direction, like a sailor correcting a drifting course. Decision-making is accelerated when values are internalized. Uncertainty often paralyzes because we rely on external validation or fleeting trends. When values are clear, they act as filters. Social pressures, short-term rewards, and seductive shortcuts lose their power to sway. Instead of asking, what do others expect of me? You ask, does this serve my guiding principles? The difference is enormous. It converts hesitation into decisiveness, doubt into confidence, and distraction into focus. Conflict between values and convenience is inevitable. Shortcuts, peer pressure, and temptation will test consistency. Clarifying values does not remove friction. It prepares you to face it. When you encounter a situation that challenges your principles, the discomfort is a signal, not a failure. It is a reminder that clarity is being applied. Responding with integrity strengthens character more than effortless compliance ever could. Repeatedly acting in accordance with your values builds resilience, reputation, and self-respect. Visualization reinforces values in action. Imagine a day guided entirely by your principles. Picture conversations, choices, and challenges handled in alignment with what you consider essential. Feel the steadiness and confidence this produces. Engage sensory detail. Hear your voice calm in difficult negotiations. Notice your body posture, confident in ethical stands. Feel the subtle peace of choices made without compromise. These mental rehearsals prime the brain to act accordingly when real-life situations arise, bridging intention with behavior. Values also serve as the anchor for long-term goals. Without them, ambition can feel directionless or misaligned. Goals built without a values foundation often lead to external validation rather than internal fulfillment. By defining what truly matters first, you ensure that every milestone contributes to a life that feels authentic. The pursuit of success becomes secondary to the pursuit of integrity, meaning, and alignment. Success is no longer random. It is the natural byproduct of disciplined choices consistent with your values. Communicating your values externally strengthens accountability. Share them with trusted peers, mentors, or colleagues. When others know the principles you hold, your behavior is subtly reinforced. Accountability is not about seeking approval. It is about creating structures that support consistency. Conversations about values clarify them further. Defending a principle verbally forces precision and reflection, sharpening your internal compass. Over time, your reputation becomes an extension of your values, influencing relationships, opportunities, and partnership. Practice decision-making under constrained conditions to test clarity. Start small. Choose meals, purchases, or scheduling based on values rather than impulse. Gradually scale to larger decisions, career moves, investments, or relationship boundaries. Each instance is a laboratory for integrity. Notice the emotional response. Clarity generates peace. Hesitation signals misalignment. Keep a journal of choices and their outcomes. Patterns will emerge, showing which values are truly central and which were assumed or aspirational. Adjustments refine the internal map. Resilience grows from the intersection of values and action. Life's pressures often tempt compromise. By consistently applying values, you create a psychological shield. Ethical consistency builds confidence that cannot be shaken by temporary loss, rejection, or criticism. When stress arises, refer back to your principles. They provide a lens to interpret events, guiding behavior without reactivity. Emotional turbulence becomes manageable because your framework remains intact, and your responses are deliberate rather than reflex. Reflection is critical. Each evening, review decisions through the lens of values. Ask which actions honored my principles. Where did I deviate? What can I adjust tomorrow? This ritual converts mistakes into lessons and small victories into reinforcement. Over weeks and months, the practice embeds values so deeply that they operate automatically. Decisions that once required effort become second nature. Integrity becomes habitual, not aspiration. Finally, understand that values evolve. Clarification is not static. It is a lifelong conversation with oneself. Experiences, failures, mentorship, and observation all refine your understanding. Periodically reassess principles. Are they still authentic? Do they reflect the person you strive to become? Adjustments are not weakness. They are growth. Leading yourself requires honesty and adaptability. Staying aligned with core values while accommodating growth ensures that choices remain deliberate rather than accidental. Begin today by writing down 5 principles that matter most to you. Rank them. Compare yesterday's decisions to these principles. Note one area where alignment can improve tomorrow. Take one small, deliberate action that embodies a core value. Each choice made consciously strengthens the bridge between intention and reality. Values become more than words. They become the unseen force guiding every step. Clarifying values is not abstract philosophy. It is the engine of decisive, meaningful living. Every time you act with awareness of what truly matters, you carve a path that is unmistakably yours. Decisions become effortless, pressure becomes manageable, and life gains coherence. Leading yourself begins with knowing who you are at your core and letting that knowledge direct every action. Success follows naturally because the person making choices is already aligned, disciplined, and guided by principles that withstand the pull of distraction, temptation, and uncertainty. By embedding clarity into thought, action, and reflection, you create an environment where external circumstances serve your intentions rather than dictate them. Life transforms from reactive chaos to deliberate orchestration. Each decision made in accordance with clarified values is a step toward mastery, integrity, and influence. This is not abstract wisdom. It is daily practice, actionable, measurable, and profound. The journey toward meaningful success begins and ends with the decisions anchored in what matters most. Values are not a luxury. They are the blueprint for a life that matters. Leading yourself begins with knowing them, trusting them, and acting upon them consistently. Every choice aligned with your principles is a declaration. The future is being built, brick by brick, by a person who knows who they are and refuses to be swayed by the noise of the world. Success follows naturally when the decisions themselves carry purpose. Number 3, develop habits that empower growth. Growth does not arrive through sudden inspiration or dramatic moments of luck. It emerges quietly, relentlessly, through the habits we cultivate each day. Every skill, every ounce of knowledge, every inch of progress is the accumulation of repeated behaviors. The act of building habits is the most practical way to lead yourself, because it transforms intention into automatic action. When you establish routines that serve growth, you remove reliance on fleeting motivation, decision by decision willpower, or external validation. Habits are the scaffolding on which the life you aspire to live is constructed, silently carrying you forward even when circumstances feel chaotic. The first principle is to design habits that serve a long-term vision rather than immediate gratification. Growth requires discomfort. It asks that you defer the pleasure of leisure, distraction, or avoidance for the rewards of skill, knowledge, and mastery. Identify the behaviors that compound over time: reading, writing, physical training, reflection, disciplined work. These actions may seem small in isolation, but repeated consistently, they become transformative. The key is consistency over intensity. One deliberate choice every day outweighs sporadic bursts of effort. Start by isolating the behaviors that align directly with your goals and values. Write them down and examine their relevance. Ask, does this activity move me toward the person I intend to become? If not, remove it from the daily agenda. Simplification is critical. Modern life is filled with noise and optional tasks disguised as necessity. Removing non-essential behaviors creates space for meaningful habits to take root. Less clutter allows the habits that matter to thrive and dominate the rhythm of your day. Habits are formed through repetition, but repetition requires deliberate structuring. Anchor each habit to a cue or trigger that signals the brain to act. It could be a time of day, an environmental prompt, or a preceding activity. For example, immediately after waking, you might engage in a short period of meditation or journaling. After lunch, a walk or a study session. By linking actions to consistent triggers, the brain begins to execute them with minimal deliberation, reducing resistance and freeing energy for higher-level thinking. Small incremental steps are often more powerful than dramatic leaps. Growth does not demand extraordinary feats from the start. It demands persistence. Begin with a manageable commitment such as reading 10 pages a day or practicing a skill for 15 minutes. Incrementally increase intensity as the behavior becomes automatic. The advantage of small beginnings is twofold. You reduce the likelihood of burnout, and you allow the habit to cement itself neurologically. Over weeks, these modest daily acts compound into significant transformation. Tracking progress amplifies habit formation. Use a visual method to mark completion: a calendar, a journal, or a digital tool. The simple act of observing progress triggers positive reinforcement, rewarding the brain with a sense of accomplishment. This feedback loop strengthens the behavior and encourages continuation. Over time, the habit becomes less a conscious decision and more a natural part of your routine, moving you forward without friction. Accountability intensifies growth. Share your commitments with a mentor, peer, or accountability partner. Public declaration does not merely serve social validation. It reinforces personal responsibility. Knowing that someone else will check on progress increases adherence. In addition, accountability introduces an external mirror for reflection. Habits are not developed in isolation. They are strengthened by alignment with relationships that reinforce values, goals, and discipline. Environment profoundly influences habit formation. Make your surroundings conducive to growth and resistant to distraction. Remove triggers for unproductive behaviors and make tools for constructive actions readily available. If your goal is physical fitness, place equipment where it is visible and accessible. If learning is the priority, Organize materials for easy retrieval. The environment silently dictates behavior far more than willpower alone. Shape it intentionally to favor the actions that create growth. Pairing habits with rewards consolidates their permanence. When an action produces a small, immediate positive outcome, the brain is more likely to repeat it. The reward need not be indulgent. It can be as simple as acknowledging completion, noting progress, or enjoying the satisfaction of alignment. The principle is reinforcement, creating a mental association between action and benefit that strengthens behavioral repetition. Interweaving reflection into habit practice ensures that growth is purposeful rather than mechanical. Daily or weekly reviews allow you to examine effectiveness, identify bottlenecks, and adjust strategies. Ask what is working, what feels forced, where is the friction. Reflection prevents habits from becoming hollow routines. It keeps growth adaptive, responsive, and aligned with evolving goals. The conscious combination of action and analysis transforms routine into strategy. Habits that empower growth often require confrontation with discomfort. Early mornings, disciplined work, focused study, and physical exertion demand patience and persistence. Embrace the friction. It is the signal of progress. Avoiding discomfort offers temporary relief, but erodes potential. Each time you persist despite resistance, you expand capacity, strengthen resilience, and deepen mastery. The most transformative habits are not those that feel easy, but those that stretch endurance, skill, and focus. Stacking habits magnifies impact. Pair complementary behaviors to leverage momentum. For example, after exercise, follow with a brief reflection session. After reading, summarize key insights in writing. Stacking allows one habit to cue another, creating a chain of constructive behaviors that reinforce each other. This technique transforms isolated actions into a rhythm of growth, multiplying their effect and establishing a culture of continuous improvement within daily life. Intentionality is the heart of habit development. Mindless repetition does not guarantee growth. Each habit must be chosen with awareness. Examine your intentions regularly. Are habits performed out of routine, obligation, or genuine purpose? Purpose-driven habits are resilient. They persist when motivation wanes because they serve a larger narrative, the story of who you are becoming. Habits without meaning are fragile. Habits rooted in identity endure. Adjustments are natural and necessary. Observe how habits interact with changing circumstances. Some behaviors may lose relevance or efficiency. Be willing to prune, adapt, and replace. Flexibility ensures that the structure of habits continues to serve growth rather than becoming rigid ritual. Review frequency, intensity, and sequencing to optimize effectiveness. This adaptive approach preserves momentum and prevents stagnation. Integration into identity amplifies transformation. Habits become more powerful when they reinforce who you are, not merely what you do. Labeling yourself as someone who writes daily, studies consistently, or maintains fitness transforms external actions into internal identity markers. Each completed habit confirms the narrative. You are the person you aspire to be. Identity-driven habit formation ensures persistence, even when external incentives fade. Growth is cumulative. Habits create compound effects that multiply over time. Early consistency may seem invisible, yet it builds momentum, capability, and resilience. 1 hour of study daily compounds into hundreds of hours, one disciplined morning into months of aligned activity. Recognize the power of cumulative effect. Trust that small intentional actions performed daily are far more transformative than sporadic, intense efforts. Finally, acknowledge the power of starting immediately. Habit formation is less about perfect conditions and more about deliberate action. Begin with what is feasible, no matter how small. Commit to repetition, structure the environment, track progress, reflect, and adjust. Each step reinforces growth, shapes identity, and solidifies momentum. The journey of personal development is the sum of these habits, and mastery is the reward of persistence. Habits that empower growth are not optional. They are essential. They transform potential into reality, intention into action, and ambition into achievement. By embedding deliberate routines into daily life, removing friction, stacking behaviors, tracking progress, and reflecting with purpose, you construct an architecture of consistent advancement. Growth becomes inevitable when your habits align with the person you intend to be. The life you desire is not granted through chance. It is built, day by day, habit by habit, with persistent and intentional action guiding every step. Number 4. Take responsibility for every choice. Every moment in life offers a choice, and each choice carries consequences, whether immediate or delayed, visible or subtle. To live a life of mastery and growth, you must accept the full weight of your decisions. Responsibility is not a punishment. It is a declaration of freedom. When you stop blaming circumstance, luck, or other people for where you are, you reclaim control. Owning every decision, from the smallest action to the largest life-altering move, is the foundation of self-leadership. This is the mindset that separates reactive existence from purposeful living. Taking responsibility begins with awareness. Every day is filled with dozens of decisions, many so automatic that they pass unnoticed. The first step is to recognize them. What you eat, how you respond to criticism, whether you follow through on commitments, even how you think about challenges, each is a choice. By consciously observing your behavior, you create a mental ledger that tracks the impact of every action. Awareness is the soil in which accountability grows. Without it, responsibility remains abstract and intangible. The second principle is honesty. Facing the truth about your role and outcomes is uncomfortable but necessary. Avoiding blame does not mean ignoring external factors. It means acknowledging that your response is always within your control. When projects fail, relationships strain, or progress stalls, examine your contribution. What decisions led here? What could you have done differently? This reflection is not self-punishment. It is an opportunity to learn, adapt, and improve. Honest evaluation transforms setbacks into stepping stones rather than sources of frustration. Responsibility also requires rejecting the victim mindset. External circumstances may be challenging, but adopting a narrative where others dictate your fate removes agency. Life will never be entirely fair, obstacles will arise, and people may act unjustly. What matters is how you respond. The moment you accept that your actions shape the outcome, even amid adversity, you gain leverage over circumstances. Empowerment is found in choice, not complaint. Each decision made with integrity reclaims power that external conditions cannot take away. Commitment is the practical application of responsibility. When you make a promise to yourself or others, honor it with precision. Small, consistent commitments build credibility and internal trust. Each fulfilled promise reinforces the principle that your word and your actions align. Conversely, breaking commitments erodes confidence, both personally and socially. Responsibility is strengthened through repeated demonstrations that your choices are deliberate, reliable, and aligned with intention. Anticipate consequences before acting. Every choice carries downstream effects, some obvious, others hidden. Take time to forecast potential outcomes and weigh the impact on yourself and those affected. This forward-thinking approach prevents regret and enables strategic action. Responsibility is not reaction. It is premeditated awareness coupled with deliberate behavior. It transforms impulsive habits into guided actions, producing results that reflect foresight rather than accident. Language shapes responsibility. Notice how often I have to replaces I choose to. The first implies external compulsion. The second emphasizes ownership. By framing actions as choices, you internalize accountability. Every decision becomes an opportunity to assert leadership over your own life, rather than surrendering it to circumstance. The simple act of changing language recalibrates mindset, reinforcing the link between thought, action, and consequence. Failures are the clearest test of responsibility. When plans unravel or mistakes occur, resist the urge to deflect blame. Identify precisely where your choices contributed to the outcome. This may feel uncomfortable, but it is liberating. Blame clouds judgment. Responsibility sharpens it. Every failure analyzed through the lens of personal accountability reveals lessons that accelerate growth. A person who consistently claims their part in outcomes develops resilience, strategic insight, and unwavering confidence. Decision-making improves when responsibility is embraced. When you recognize that each choice defines your path, you begin to act with greater deliberation. Hasty decisions driven by impulse, fear, or convenience decrease as mindfulness grows. Responsibility demands pause, reflection, and clarity. It encourages asking, does this action serve the person I aspire to be? Is this choice consistent with my principles and long-term objectives? The answers guide action and prevent drift. External circumstances cannot absolve internal accountability. The weather may be harsh, colleagues may oppose you, finances may be tight, yet your response is within your control. By focusing on what you can manage, your thoughts, actions, and decisions, you build stability in an unpredictable world. Responsibility creates an internal locus of control, meaning your life becomes defined by conscious decisions rather than external chaos. This shift fundamentally changes outcomes, attitude, and perception. Create rituals of reflection to reinforce responsibility. At the end of each day, review actions taken, decisions made, and results produced. Document moments of alignment and deviation. Ask, where did I act with full ownership, and where did I surrender power to circumstance or emotion? This simple practice converts abstract accountability into concrete learning. Patterns emerge, highlighting areas for improvement and confirming behaviors that consistently yield desired results. Reflection cements responsibility as a habit rather than a concept. Responsibility also entails ethical clarity. Your choices do not exist in isolation, they affect others. Recognize the ripple effects of your actions. Choose with integrity even when no one observes. Leading yourself requires moral courage as much as personal discipline. Decisions made with honesty, fairness, and respect create a life of trustworthiness and influence. Responsibility is as much about honoring relationships and consequences as it is about self-mastery. Anticipate difficulty in maintaining consistent accountability. Temptations to rationalize or minimize decisions will arise. Consciously prepare strategies to counteract avoidance, reminders, commitments, accountability partners, and clear consequences for inaction. Discipline is the bridge between recognition and action. Each moment you choose responsibility over convenience reinforces identity, solidifying the pattern of deliberate, empowered living. Taking responsibility includes owning your emotional responses. Life does not always bend to preference. Frustrations, disappointments, and setbacks are inevitable. Responding with composure and intentionality, rather than impulsive reaction or blame, is a demonstration of leadership over self. Emotions are signals, not instructions. By interpreting them thoughtfully, you make decisions from clarity rather than from chaos. Emotional ownership is inseparable from practical accountability. Celebrate the power in choice. Recognizing that you are the author of your actions is both humbling and liberating. You cannot always control external events, but you can control decisions, priorities, and responses. Every deliberate choice, no matter how small, is a declaration of autonomy. Consistent action underlines the principle that you lead your life through conscious, accountable behavior rather than passive drift. Begin with a simple exercise. Identify one recent outcome that disappointed you. Trace back through every decision that contributed to it, including attitudes, procrastination, or misjudgments. Own each element without excuses. Then identify a corrective step to take tomorrow. Repeat daily with different scenarios. Over time, this practice strengthens self-discipline, insight, and empowerment. Responsibility becomes instinctive, and decision-making grows sharper, more deliberate, and more aligned with long-term objectives. Responsibility is ultimately a practice of freedom. By acknowledging full ownership over choices, you release yourself from the tyranny of circumstance, victimhood, and indecision. Each step taken consciously builds momentum, resilience, and authority over the trajectory of life. The person who claims their role in every outcome develops mastery that is unshakable, a life guided not by external forces but by deliberate, informed, and principled action. The journey begins with the smallest choices: how you start your morning, how you respond to interruptions, how you prioritize tasks. Each decision is a microcosm of your leadership over self. Gradually, the practice expands to more significant areas: career strategy, relationships, health, and personal growth. Responsibility compounds, creating a life where external success is a natural reflection of internal ownership. Leading yourself means owning every choice without exception. By consistently claiming responsibility, you become unstoppable, not because life is easier, but because you navigate it with clarity, integrity, and purpose. Decisions become instruments of progress rather than points of anxiety. Accountability ceases to feel burdensome. It becomes empowering. The person who leads themselves with conscious ownership transforms setbacks into leverage, challenges into lessons, and every moment into an opportunity to build the life they intend to live. Number 5, prioritize long-term vision over comfort. True progress is never born from comfort. Every meaningful achievement, every significant transformation exists on the other side of effort, patience, and perseverance. Comfort is seductive because it promises immediate relief, but it is a trap that disguises stagnation as security. To lead yourself effectively and position your life for success, you must learn to prioritize long-term vision over fleeting comfort. The ability to choose the path that serves growth, mastery, and purpose, even when it is difficult, separates those who drift through life from those who actively shape it. The first step is to define a vision so vivid and compelling that it outweighs the appeal of temporary ease. A vision is more than a goal. It is a clear image of who you will be, the capabilities you will possess, and the impact you will have. This vision should evoke a sense of inevitability, a pull so strong that it makes present discomfort tolerable. Write it down, see it daily. Let it become a lens through which every choice is filtered. The sharper the vision, the easier it is to resist the immediate pleasures that distract from long-term objectives. Discomfort is unavoidable when pursuing growth. Early mornings, extended focus, disciplined training, learning difficult skills, or facing tough conversations all create friction. Recognizing discomfort as the currency of progress reframes it from something to avoid into a sign of movement. Each moment of resistance is an investment in the future version of yourself. Avoidance only compounds regret, while deliberate engagement produces capability and confidence. The brain may crave comfort, but your character and potential are forged in the tension of challenge. Decision-making becomes simpler when long-term vision is prioritized. Before acting, pause to ask, does this choice serve the person I want to become in 5, 10, or 20 years? Will it move me closer to my defined vision or simply provide momentary satisfaction? This reflection creates a filter that reduces impulsive behaviors, distractions, and unproductive habits. Choosing long-term alignment is rarely the easiest option, but it produces consistency and effort and a life that compounds meaningfully over time. Structure is essential to maintain focus on long-term vision. Without deliberate frameworks, comfort will naturally dominate. Design routines, schedules, and environments that support persistent work toward your goals. Place tools, reminders, and resources in the spaces where they will trigger action. Remove elements that encourage procrastination or indulgence. Structure acts as a scaffolding for consistency, allowing long-term priorities to persist even when motivation fluctuates. The environment silently governs behavior. Shaping it intentionally aligns day-to-day choices with future outcomes. Sacrifice is inevitable. Choosing long-term vision over comfort often means forgoing social pleasures, entertainment, or convenience. This is not deprivation, it is selective investment. Each hour dedicated to skill building, reflection, or planning is an hour compounding toward mastery. The immediate cost is outweighed by the exponential benefits of competence, influence, and fulfillment over time. Learning to embrace these small sacrifices without resentment is critical to developing resilience and staying committed to vision-driven living. Patience is a companion to vision. Progress rarely appears overnight, and results may lag far behind effort. A long-term perspective allows you to persist without immediate validation. Trust the process. Repeated small actions accumulate silently, creating breakthroughs that are disproportionate to the individual efforts observed. Comfort seeks instant gratification, Vision relies on compound effort. Choosing the latter cultivates self-discipline, endurance, and foresight, attributes that become self-reinforcing and increasingly valuable with experience. The practice of delayed gratification strengthens character. Every moment you resist immediate pleasure to serve a higher objective builds mental toughness. It teaches the nervous system that fulfillment comes from achievement rather than indulgence. These moments, repeated thousands of times, define identity. You become someone capable of prioritizing significance over ease, long-term impact over temporary satisfaction. This is the essence of self-leadership, acting in accordance with a vision rather than impulse. Accountability reinforces commitment to long-term priorities. Share your vision and goals with mentors, peers, or colleagues who will hold you to consistent action. External reinforcement adds structure and pressure that mirrors real-world stakes. Being answerable to someone increases follow-through and sharpens focus. It transforms abstract aspiration into measurable progress. The combination of internal commitment and external accountability fortifies the ability to endure discomfort and resist shortcuts that undermine growth. Habits are instrumental in bridging the gap between vision and action. Daily routines that reinforce skill acquisition, productivity, and self-reflection ensure that long-term priorities are continually advanced. The cumulative effect of disciplined repetition transforms abstract goals into tangible capabilities. Habits replace dependence on willpower alone, embedding consistency into the architecture of daily life. Over time, the repetition of purposeful actions creates momentum that renders distractions and discomfort secondary. Embracing risk is part of prioritizing long-term vision. Comfort seeks safety, predictability, and avoidance of failure. Vision requires experimentation, exposure, and occasional loss. Risk is a vehicle for growth. Avoiding it out of preference for ease limits potential. Consciously stepping into challenging situations, even when they provoke fear or uncertainty, produces skills, insight, and resilience that comfort cannot offer. The capacity to act despite fear is a hallmark of individuals who achieve enduring impact. Reflection solidifies the link between effort and vision. Regularly assess whether daily actions align with long-term objectives. Ask, am I spending my time and energy on what truly matters? Where have I opted for temporary ease at the expense of progress? Reflection is not guilt, it is course correction. It ensures that each day contributes to cumulative growth rather than drifting under the illusion of productivity. This self-audit strengthens awareness, self-control, and alignment with vision. Motivation alone is insufficient. Systems must sustain action. Create rituals that enforce long-term priorities even when enthusiasm wanes. Morning routines, focused work periods, and structured planning sessions serve as anchors. The systems you design act as supports that carry you through fatigue, distraction, and uncertainty. Long-term vision becomes reality not because of occasional bursts of energy, but through disciplined systems that maintain progress consistently over time. Reframe discomfort as opportunity. Moments of difficulty, inconvenience, or delayed satisfaction are signals that growth is occurring. Each challenge met builds capacity, skill, and self-trust. The path of least resistance rarely leads to extraordinary outcomes. Choosing the course that is demanding but aligned with your vision ensures that the struggle itself produces value, making the journey both productive and transformative. Stories of enduring achievement are rarely tales of comfort. They are narratives of repeated choices to act in alignment with a compelling vision despite obstacles, fatigue, and temptation. The lives of high performers across disciplines illustrate the same principle. Consistent prioritization of long-term objectives over immediate ease creates leverage that compounds exponentially. The lesson is clear. The path to meaningful success is paved with decisions that favor vision over convenience. Begin with immediate steps. Identify one habit, task, or discipline that supports your long-term vision but conflicts with your current comfort patterns. Commit to executing it daily for the next month. Adjust your environment to reduce friction, track your adherence, and reflect weekly on progress. Each deliberate act of resistance strengthens the mental muscle that favors vision over ease. Over time, these small, consistent choices build momentum and embed a culture of disciplined pursuit into your life. Prioritizing vision over comfort is not a single act, but a continuous practice. It requires vigilance, planning, and courage. Each decision is a test. Choose the effortless path, and progress slows. Choose the path that aligns with vision, and you invest in exponential potential. The compound effect of repeated alignment creates extraordinary leverage over life's trajectory. Comfort may feel pleasant temporarily, but vision delivers fulfillment, mastery, and control over destiny. Every day presents opportunities to practice this principle. Choosing to learn instead of distract, act instead of procrastinate, challenge instead of retreat, and persist instead of surrender, cumulatively shapes identity and reality. Long-term vision becomes more than a goal. It becomes a lens through which all choices are evaluated, and comfort loses its persuasive power. Through repeated deliberate decisions, you construct a life where success is the inevitable result of disciplined alignment with a higher purpose. Number 6. Strengthen mindset through consistent reflection. The mind is the most powerful tool you possess, yet it is also the most fragile if left unmanaged. Strength does not emerge automatically. It requires deliberate cultivation. Reflection is the exercise that builds mental resilience, sharpens judgment, and deepens self-awareness. Without it, thoughts become reactive, emotions unchecked, and decisions driven by impulse rather than clarity. To lead yourself effectively, you must train your mind as you would a muscle, consistently, intentionally, and with patience. Reflection is the key to transforming experiences into insight and challenges into stepping stones. Reflection begins with presence. To examine thoughts and actions, you must first pause and disengage from constant activity. Daily life floods the mind with stimuli, tasks, messages, decisions, and distractions. Without deliberate interruption, the mind operates on autopilot, recycling habits and reactions without scrutiny. Setting aside dedicated time for reflection allows you to observe patterns, identify blind spots, and extract lessons from events that would otherwise pass unnoticed. This is not a passive exercise. It is active engagement with the mechanics of your own thought. Journaling is one of the most effective tools for structured reflection. Writing down observations, decisions, successes, and failures forces precision in thinking. It clarifies what you truly believe, what actions align with your intentions, and where misalignment occurs. A single paragraph of thoughtful reflection can illuminate recurring errors, highlight unnoticed progress, and solidify lessons that might otherwise fade. Over weeks and months, consistent journaling creates a record of growth, a tangible archive of personal evolution, and a mirror for self-accountability. Self-inquiry is central to reflection. Ask questions that probe deeply. Why did I respond that way? What assumptions guided my choice? Where did I overreact or underperform? How could I have approached the situation differently? These questions develop metacognition, the ability to observe and analyze your own thinking. With repeated practice, this strengthens judgment and decision-making. Mental clarity grows when patterns of thought are examined and refined, rather than left unchallenged and unconscious. Reflection is not limited to failures. Moments of success are equally valuable. Examine what led to positive outcomes, which actions contributed most, which choices aligned perfectly with values and vision. Recognizing the factors behind achievements reinforces productive habits and increases awareness of personal strengths. Celebrating and understanding these moments is not vanity. It is strategic reinforcement, ensuring that effective behaviors are repeated and amplified. Time is a critical element of reflective practice. Reflection is most potent when performed regularly, consistently, and without rush. Short, daily sessions maintain immediate awareness, while longer, periodic reviews allow broader perspective. The daily exercise captures details and nuances, while weekly or monthly reviews reveal trends, recurring challenges, and opportunities for strategic adjustment. Combining micro and macro reflection ensures both precision and long-term insight, forming a comprehensive understanding of behavior and progress. Emotional clarity is a natural byproduct of reflection. Emotions can distort perception, provoke reactive behavior, and cloud judgment. By observing and articulating feelings during reflective practice, You separate reaction from reason. Ask, what triggered this emotional response? What assumptions or beliefs amplified it? Could I respond differently in the future? Emotional intelligence is strengthened through repeated examination of feelings, making it easier to navigate complex situations without losing composure. Consistency is the secret to transformation. A single reflective session offers little change. Repeated, deliberate reflection builds a resilient mindset. Treat reflection as a non-negotiable daily discipline. Just as muscles require frequent training to develop strength, the mind requires repeated evaluation to remain sharp, flexible, and resistant to reactive thinking. Over time, the act of pausing, questioning, and analyzing becomes automatic, creating a mental environment that naturally favors insight over confusion. Perspective broadens through reflection. Daily routines often trap attention in immediate concerns, creating a tunnel vision that obscures context and nuance. By stepping back and reviewing experiences objectively, you gain distance and clarity. Consider alternative viewpoints, explore the broader implications of decisions, and imagine consequences from multiple angles. This practice builds cognitive flexibility, enabling you to navigate complexity, anticipate challenges, and respond with strategic thought rather than habitual reaction. Reflection also strengthens problem-solving skills. By reviewing challenges critically, you uncover root causes rather than merely addressing symptoms. Examine failures and obstacles in detail. What conditions contributed to them? How could similar issues be prevented? Which alternative strategies might have been more effective? Over time, this analytical approach becomes internalized, allowing for proactive thinking and efficient resolution of future problems, enhancing both competence and confidence. Accountability is enhanced through reflective practice. Writing down commitments, choices, and results creates a record that cannot be ignored. Each reflection session provides a clear view of adherence to values, priorities, and personal standards. By confronting gaps and acknowledging successes, you reinforce responsibility for your own growth. Accountability and reflection cultivates discipline, ensuring that insights translate into consistent, meaningful action. Reflection strengthens foresight. By examining past decisions and their outcomes, patterns emerge that predict future behavior. Recognizing these trends allows for preemptive adjustment, reducing mistakes and improving efficiency. The mind trained in reflection becomes anticipatory rather than reactive, identifying risks and opportunities before they manifest fully. This proactive approach multiplies the effectiveness of decision-making and increases resilience in uncertain or rapidly changing situations. Deep reflection often requires silence and solitude. In a world saturated with external noise and constant interaction, uninterrupted time allows unfiltered access to thought. Moments of quiet enable nuanced insight, free from distraction or external influence. Silence is not emptiness. It is a fertile space for analysis, synthesis, and strategic thinking. Habits of reflection flourish in environments where the mind is given space to engage fully with itself. Integration is the ultimate goal of reflection. Insights gained are only valuable when applied. Observations about behavior, emotion, and decision-making must translate into improved action. Reflection without application is intellectual exercise. Reflection with implementation is growth. Develop plans, set adjustments, and execute changes based on reflective conclusions. Each application reinforces understanding, creating a feedback loop where reflection informs action, and action provides new material for reflection. Reflection nurtures resilience. Understanding past challenges, responses, and coping mechanisms creates a mental framework that eases future stress. By reviewing how obstacles were overcome, you internalize strategies for persistence and adaptation. Confidence emerges from experience processed thoughtfully rather than left to memory or emotion. This psychological strength allows you to remain steady amid adversity and maintain clarity when faced with unexpected setbacks. Perspective on values and priorities sharpens through consistent reflection. By regularly evaluating whether actions align with principles, you ensure coherence between intentions and behaviors. Discrepancies become visible and actionable, reducing drift and strengthening integrity. Reflection reinforces commitment to long-term objectives, allowing the mind to navigate daily distractions without losing sight of overarching purpose. Practical exercises enhance reflective effectiveness. Record one key decision or challenge each day. Note immediate feelings, actions, and outcomes, and analyze lessons learned. Ask probing questions. What assumptions were present? How did reactions align with desired identity? What alternative approaches could have been applied? Schedule weekly and monthly synthesis sessions to identify patterns, cumulative progress, and strategic adjustments. This structured method converts reflection into a disciplined growth tool rather than random rumination. Mindset grows stronger when reflection is habitual. Over time, the mind learns to self-monitor and self-correct, even outside formal reflection sessions. Patterns of thought, emotional reactions, and behavioral tendencies become visible before mistakes occur. This anticipatory awareness reduces impulsivity, increases strategic thinking, and fosters deliberate action. Strengthening the mind through reflection is both preventative and developmental, producing clarity, focus, and adaptive intelligence. Begin today by committing to a brief daily reflection session. Identify one situation that challenged you, one success, and one insight about your thought patterns or reactions. Record them, analyze the lessons, and plan one actionable adjustment. Over days, weeks, and months, these incremental efforts accumulate into profound mental strength, resilience, and clarity. Reflection is not a passive act. It is the deliberate construction of a mind capable of guiding itself, making wise decisions, and persisting through complexity with unwavering focus. Consistent reflection transforms the way you perceive experience, equipping the mind to operate with insight, intentionality, and purpose. Each session strengthens judgment, improves decision-making, and reinforces alignment with values and long-term goals. By investing in the regular practice of examining thoughts, emotions, and actions, the mind becomes a tool of precision rather than chaos. Growth, mastery, and self-leadership emerge naturally from this disciplined engagement, proving that the strongest minds are built, not by circumstance, but through reflection applied consistently and conscientiously. Number 7. Align actions with personal mission. Every meaningful life is built on alignment between purpose and action. Without a clear mission, days can drift without focus, energy dissipates on distractions, and accomplishments often feel hollow. A personal mission is more than a goal. It is the guiding principle that connects every choice, every effort, and every interaction to a broader vision of who you want to be and the impact you want to create. Aligning actions with this mission transforms ordinary effort into strategic movement, ensuring that time, energy, and attention compound into meaningful progress. The first step is defining your mission with precision. Many people operate with vague notions of success or happiness, but these abstractions lack power. A mission should articulate what you value most, the contribution you wish to make, and the standard by which you will measure your actions. Write it down in clear, compelling language. It should evoke clarity and a sense of inevitability, something so concrete that it provides direction when faced with choices, challenges, or uncertainty. A well-defined mission is a compass that always points toward purpose. Once the mission is defined, every action becomes a question. Does this serve my purpose or dilute it? This simple yet powerful filter changes how you approach tasks, relationships, and opportunities. Daily decisions are no longer arbitrary. Each is a deliberate test of alignment. Saying no becomes easier because the mission provides justification beyond momentary convenience or pressure from others. Every yes that aligns with your mission reinforces focus, energy, and forward momentum. Alignment requires courage, the courage to reject comfort, distraction, or approval when it conflicts with your purpose. Time management transforms under the lens of alignment. Activities that do not contribute to your mission lose their influence over your day. Evaluate your routines and obligations with honesty. Are meetings, social obligations, or habits reinforcing your mission, or are they diverting energy? The answer determines what stays and what must be cut. By prioritizing tasks that directly support your mission, you maximize impact while reducing wasted effort. Time becomes a tool of leverage rather than a source of stress. Energy management is equally important. Not every action is productive if it is performed in the wrong state of mind or physical condition. Aligning actions with your mission requires awareness of energy levels and optimal performance windows. Engage in high-value activities when focus is strongest. Reserve routine or low-impact tasks for moments of reduced energy. This conscious allocation ensures that effort supports the mission rather than dissipates through misaligned execution. Decision-making becomes streamlined when actions are tied to a personal mission. The filter of purpose reduces hesitation, second-guessing, and distraction. Choices that might otherwise consume mental energy become clear. Act if it aligns, defer or decline if it does not. This decisiveness strengthens self-trust and increases efficiency, allowing more energy to be devoted to creative, strategic, or high-leverage work. Alignment removes ambiguity and provides a clear roadmap for navigating complexity. Reflection strengthens alignment. Regularly review actions to ensure they are consistent with your mission. Identify where time, effort, or focus has drifted from purpose. Small misalignments, left unchecked, compound over time. Correction is simple but requires honesty. Adjust routines, change habits, and reprioritize commitments. This iterative process transforms alignment from abstract principle into practical, daily execution. Continuous adjustment ensures that growth, learning, and effort always feed the mission rather than wandering aimlessly. Integrity is inseparable from alignment. A mission is only meaningful if actions reflect it authentically. Hypocrisy, even subtle, erodes credibility, self-respect, and momentum. Acting consistently with your mission, even in unseen moments, reinforces identity and builds internal authority. Others begin to sense reliability and purpose, creating influence and trust. Alignment is not performative. It is an internal standard that governs decisions, behavior, and response to circumstance. Prioritize initiatives that compound impact. Not all actions are equal, even if they are aligned with the mission. Identify leverage points, areas where focused effort produces disproportionate outcomes. This requires analysis and experience. Some habits, projects, or relationships will accelerate mission progress more than others. By concentrating energy on these high-impact actions, you optimize alignment between effort and outcome, ensuring that every hour and decision contributes meaningfully to long-term objectives. Clarity of mission empowers resilience. Challenges, setbacks, and obstacles are inevitable. Without purpose, adversity can erode motivation, focus, and confidence. When every action serves a defined mission, difficulty is reframed. Obstacles are tests of alignment, opportunities for learning, and catalysts for strategic adjustment. The mission acts as an anchor, keeping the mind steady during turbulent times. Resilience emerges naturally when purpose defines action and informs response. Boundaries are essential to maintain alignment. Protecting time, attention, and energy from distractions at low-value demands safeguards the mission. Learning to say no is a skill cultivated by clarity of purpose. Every refusal reinforces priorities, conserves resources, and prevents dilution of focus. Boundaries are not selfishness. They are structural integrity, preserving capacity for actions that truly advance the mission. Without them, energy fragments and alignment becomes impossible. Visualization enhances alignment by connecting abstract mission statements to concrete action. Imagine daily scenarios, decisions, and challenges acted upon in accordance with purpose. Picture how you would respond, the discipline exercised, and the outcomes achieved. This mental rehearsal primes behavior, reinforces commitment, and strengthens the subconscious association between mission and action. When real-life moments occur, responses are more instinctive, deliberate, and aligned. Accountability magnifies alignment. Share your mission and progress with trusted individuals who can provide honest feedback. The knowledge that actions are observed and evaluated creates motivation to maintain consistency. Accountability partners serve as mirrors, reflecting both success and deviation. External reinforcement complements internal commitment, creating a structure that strengthens adherence to purpose even under pressure or fatigue. Adaptation is part of mission alignment. Circumstances, opportunities, and challenges evolve over time. The mission itself may remain stable, but strategies, methods, and actions must adjust. Flexibility ensures that alignment remains dynamic rather than rigid. Regularly assess whether current actions, tactics, and routines continue to serve the overarching mission. Adjustments are not weakness. They are a demonstration of strategic thinking and commitment to long-term impact. Integration of mission into identity ensures sustainability. When the mission becomes part of who you are rather than simply what you do, alignment is automatic. Actions naturally reflect values, purpose, and long-term vision. The behavior that once required conscious effort becomes habitual and instinctive. Identity-driven alignment eliminates internal conflict and reduces friction between desire and duty. Daily life flows seamlessly with the mission, producing consistency, clarity, and momentum. Alignment also enhances decision-making under uncertainty. When external variables are unpredictable, the mission serves as a stable reference point. Choices are evaluated against purpose rather than fleeting trends, opinions, or emotion. This stability creates confidence, reduces anxiety, and produces outcomes that are coherent with long-term objectives. The mind no longer wavers under pressure because purpose guides thought and behavior consistently. Every action, however small, matters when aligned with mission. Daily habits, conversations, choices, and routines compound to create influence, skill, and credibility. Alignment turns ordinary effort into strategic advancement. Even mundane tasks, when framed through purpose, become contributions to long-term goals. The accumulation of aligned actions over weeks, months, and years is what separates meaningful success from scattered effort. Begin immediately by reviewing today's schedule and asking, does each activity advance my mission? Identify one area of misalignment and adjust. Schedule intentional actions that directly serve purpose. Create a checklist or tracking system to monitor adherence daily. Over time, alignment becomes intuitive. Decision-making sharpens, and energy is focused on actions that create tangible long-term results. Aligning actions with a personal mission is the essence of self-leadership. It transforms vague effort into deliberate impact, increases resilience, sharpens decision-making, and maximizes growth. Purpose becomes a filter, a guide, and a motivator that ensures every moment contributes to the life you intend to live. When actions consistently reflect mission, success follows not as chance, but as the natural result of intentional, disciplined, and coherent movement through life. Number 8. Invest in skills before recognition. True mastery and enduring success are never built on the pursuit of applause. Recognition is fleeting, and external validation is unreliable. Those who achieve lasting impact understand that the foundation of influence, opportunity, and respect is skill, not fame. Investing in your abilities, refining expertise, and cultivating competence before seeking recognition ensures that when acknowledgement arrives, it is meaningful, deserved, and sustainable. Skills are the currency of long-term achievement, while recognition is merely a byproduct of consistent competence applied with integrity. The first principle is patience. Skill acquisition is rarely immediate or visible to others. It requires deliberate practice, repetition, and sometimes years of effort before results are apparent. Focusing prematurely on recognition distracts from this essential work. Seek depth rather than display. Excellence is developed quietly, in moments when no one is watching, through persistent effort and attention to detail. Every hour spent refining abilities compounds into capability, confidence, and authority, long before anyone praises or notices. Deliberate practice is the core of skill development. It is not enough to perform tasks. Improvement requires focused, intentional effort to stretch beyond current competence. Analyze weaknesses, experiment with alternative approaches, and challenge limitations. Break skills into subcomponents, master each element, and integrate them gradually into fluid performance. Incremental progress ensures steady growth, while superficial effort produces fleeting results. Those who excel invest time in the mechanics of skill rather than the optics of success. Learning must be continuous. The pursuit of skills is a lifelong process. Technology, industry standards, and knowledge evolve constantly. Complacency is the enemy of mastery. Treat every experience as an opportunity to refine, adapt, and expand capabilities. Read widely, observe experts, solicit feedback, and remain curious. The person who invests in learning before recognition develops versatility and resilience, qualities that outlast the transient appeal of applause or awards. Humility is essential. True skill seekers work without expectation of immediate recognition. They embrace obscurity as the crucible in which competence is forged. The absence of external validation does not diminish effort. It reinforces self-reliance and intrinsic motivation. Humility allows focus to remain on substance rather than appearance. The mind that prioritizes mastery over admiration becomes impervious to distraction, envy, or superficial comparison. Time allocation is critical. Investing in skills requires prioritizing learning over short-term visibility. This often means saying no to opportunities for temporary attention in favor of consistent long-term improvement. Every hour devoted to practice, study, or reflection is an investment in the future self. Treat time as capital. Spend it where it generates the highest compound return. Recognition may come sooner or later, but the underlying capabilities built during this period are permanent. Feedback is a tool, not a trophy. Seek critique from knowledgeable sources, not praise from the uninformed. Constructive criticism accelerates growth by exposing blind spots, refining technique, and sharpening judgment. Recognition without challenge often inflates ego rather than competence. Skill development flourishes when learning is prioritized over flattery. The pursuit of mastery demands rigorous assessment, honest evaluation, and continuous correction, independent of external validation. Discipline bridges the gap between intention and execution. Skill acquisition is often monotonous, requiring repetitive drills, painstaking review, and consistent effort. Motivation fluctuates, but discipline maintains momentum. Those who achieve greatness understand that recognition is unreliable. Only discipline ensures that capabilities advance regardless of applause. Small, consistent actions over months and years compound into significant expertise, creating a foundation for sustainable success that recognition alone cannot provide. Strategic focus ensures that skill development aligns with long-term objectives. Investing effort in areas unrelated to goals may yield competence but minimal impact. Identify the skills most relevant to personal vision, career trajectory, or contribution, and concentrate on mastery in those domains. This strategic approach maximizes efficiency and relevance, ensuring that when recognition arrives, it amplifies meaningful achievement rather than superficial acknowledgement. Resilience grows through patient skill investment. The early stages of learning are often uncomfortable, frustrating, and slow. Mistakes are frequent, progress imperceptible, and validation scarce. Those focused on recognition may quit or lose confidence. Those who prioritize skills understand that struggle is integral to growth. Each error, challenge, and repetition strengthens capability, mental toughness, and adaptability. Recognition is delayed, but the internal fortitude to let during this phase produces enduring advantage. Action before attention differentiates the exceptional from the ordinary. Many seek visibility before capability, aiming to impress without substance. Skill-first individuals act with purpose, producing results quietly until competence becomes undeniable. The world eventually notices mastery, not marketing. Recognition arrives naturally as a consequence of consistent performance, expertise, and reliability. The trajectory is inverted. Capability precedes visibility, ensuring that acknowledgement is grounded in real achievement. Reflection accelerates skill development. After every practice session, project, or task, evaluate performance critically. Identify what was executed well, what fell short, and how adjustments can be made. Reflection converts repetition into learning, ensuring that effort compounds effectively. Without reflection, practice becomes mechanical and plateaus emerge. Reflection transforms skill building from activity into strategy, making each action purposeful, efficient, and aligned with growth objectives. Collaboration and observation expand skill acquisition. Learning from those who have already achieved mastery shortens the path to competence. Observe techniques, study methods, and internalize principles. Collaboration introduces perspectives and knowledge beyond personal experience, accelerating development. Mentorship amplifies learning, providing direction, correction, and investing time in absorbing expertise before seeking recognition ensures that skills are robust, comprehensive, and transferable. Patience with delayed recognition reinforces self-mastery. External acknowledgement often arrives inconsistently, lagging far behind effort. The measure of progress should not be applause, but capability, understanding, and refinement. Trust the process. The external world eventually validates results, but the real reward lies in competence itself. Skill becomes identity, confidence, and authority, independent of transient approval or superficial accolades. Integration of new skills into action solidifies mastery. Knowledge without application remains inert. Apply techniques, test strategies, and execute decisions informed by learned capabilities. Iterative cycles of practice and application create muscle memory, intuition, and problem-solving agility. Recognition follows naturally because impact is tangible, consistent, and demonstrable. Investing in skills before seeking attention ensures that performance is grounded in substance rather than perception. Discipline, patience, reflection, and focus combine to create exponential growth. Small daily investments in skill accumulate silently, compounding into profound competence over months and years. Recognition may appear suddenly, but it is the consequence of persistent preparation rather than chance. Those who chase applause first often encounter fleeting validation without foundation, while those who cultivate skill first build influence, authority, and opportunity that endure. The mindset of skill before recognition fosters resilience against ego and distraction. Public acknowledgement is external, skills are internal. By anchoring self-worth in ability rather than admiration, you maintain motivation when visibility is absent. The mind becomes autonomous, disciplined, and persistent, capable of producing excellence without requiring external reinforcement. Recognition eventually follows, but its arrival is neither demanded nor dependent on fluctuation in attention or approval. Start immediately by identifying one critical skill that directly advances long-term objectives. Commit to daily deliberate practice, breaking it into manageable segments, seeking feedback, and reflecting on progress. Track incremental improvements, adjust strategies, and avoid measuring progress by public recognition. Over time, proficiency accumulates, confidence strengthens, and visibility becomes inevitable. Every hour invested compounds into capability, authority, and results, forming the foundation upon which recognition eventually rests. Investing in skills before recognition is the path of enduring achievement. It produces competence that is indisputable, influence that is legitimate, and confidence that is unshakable. Recognition becomes the natural outcome of persistent, focused, and deliberate growth, rather than the pursuit of fleeting applause. The person who masters capability before seeking acknowledgement ensures that every accolade, opportunity, and reward is meaningful, sustainable, and reflective of true excellence. Number 9. Control emotions to maximize performance. Emotions are powerful forces that can either propel us forward or hold us back. When harnessed correctly, they become fuel for focus, energy, and clarity. When left unchecked, they cloud judgment, distort perception, and sabotage performance. The difference between high achievers and those who falter often lies not in talent or intelligence, but in the ability to regulate emotional states consistently. Controlling emotions is not about suppression. It is about awareness, understanding, and deliberate management so that every response aligns with purpose and maximizes effectiveness. The first step in emotional mastery is awareness. Most people react to emotions automatically, letting anger, fear, or frustration dictate behavior. Awareness begins with noticing physical sensations, thought patterns, and impulses as they arise. A tight chest, rapid heartbeat, or racing mind are cues signaling emotional activation. Recognizing these signals in real time creates space to respond consciously rather than react instinctively. Awareness transforms emotional energy from a chaotic force into a manageable tool. Once awareness is established, interpretation becomes crucial. Emotions carry information about values, goals, and needs, but they do not always reflect reality accurately. Fear may indicate risk worth acknowledging, but it may also exaggerate danger. Frustration can signal a necessary boundary or an expectation that needs adjustment. By examining emotions analytically, asking what triggered them, why they surfaced, and what message they convey, you gain insight without being dominated by the impulse. Interpretation separates signal from noise, allowing strategic action. Regulation of emotions requires deliberate techniques to stabilize the mind and body. Breathing exercises, mindfulness, and visualization are effective tools. Deep, measured breaths reduce physiological arousal, calming neural pathways and creating clarity. Visualization of desired outcomes before engaging in stressful situations primes the mind for composure and focus. Mindfulness practices cultivate the ability to observe thoughts and feelings without being consumed by them. These techniques create a controlled internal environment, enabling optimal performance under pressure. Emotional control is closely linked to perspective. High performers recognize that situations are rarely as urgent, catastrophic, or permanent as they initially feel. Cognitive reframing transforms perceived threats into challenges or opportunities for growth. A mistake becomes a lesson, a delay becomes preparation time, and criticism becomes actionable feedback. Perspective allows emotion to inform rather than overwhelm, converting instinctive reactions into constructive responses that advance goals rather than hinder them. Preparation reduces emotional volatility. When you anticipate challenges, you decrease the likelihood of being caught off guard by frustration, anxiety, or panic. Prepare for high-pressure scenarios by mentally rehearsing responses, reviewing potential outcomes, and establishing contingency plans. Familiarity with possible events reduces fear of uncertainty and builds confidence. Emotional control is easier when the mind has a roadmap, because unpredictability is a primary source of heightened emotional reactivity. Self-talk shapes emotional experience. The internal dialogue you maintain can escalate or mitigate reactions. Phrases such as, "I can handle this," "This is an opportunity to improve," or "Focus on what I can control," redirect mental energy from panic or blame to clarity and action. Conversely, self-critical or catastrophic thinking amplifies stress and diminishes performance. Developing disciplined self-talk strengthens resilience, focus, and composure, turning internal narratives into allies rather than enemies. Delayed response is a practical strategy for emotional control. Immediate reactions often arise from primitive neural circuits that prioritize survival over strategy. By pausing, even briefly before responding, you gain time to assess the situation, consider alternatives, and choose a response that aligns with goals. This simple practice reduces impulsivity, prevents regret, and maximizes the effectiveness of decisions made under emotional pressure. Patience becomes a tactical advantage in high-stakes environments. Emotions are amplified by energy levels, so physical maintenance is essential. Fatigue, poor nutrition, and lack of exercise heighten irritability, impulsivity, and stress sensitivity. Regular physical activity, sufficient rest, and balanced nutrition stabilize mood and strengthen the nervous system, enhancing the ability to remain calm and focused. Emotional control is not merely mental, it is a holistic practice that integrates mind, body, and environment. Understanding triggers is vital for proactive management. Every individual has specific stimuli that provoke strong reactions: criticism, high stakes, perceived injustice, or uncertainty. Identifying these triggers allows preparation and strategy. Once known, triggers can be mitigated through mindset adjustments, environmental changes, or rehearsal of coping mechanisms. Mastery over emotional triggers transforms vulnerability into predictability, reducing the risk of uncontrolled reactions in critical moments. Consistency in emotional practice produces compounding benefits. Like physical training, repeated effort strengthens neural pathways associated with regulation, focus, and composure. Daily exercises, such as journaling emotional responses, practicing mindfulness, and reflecting on triggers, develop an internal architecture that defaults to control rather than chaos. Over time, emotional intelligence becomes instinctive, allowing high performance even under extreme stress. Accountability reinforces emotional growth. Sharing goals with trusted peers or mentors provides external observation, feedback, and support. Others can identify blind spots, point out patterns of reactive behavior, and offer guidance for improvement. Emotional mastery is accelerated when combined with honest external input, as it prevents self-deception and strengthens commitment to disciplined responses. Emotional intelligence extends beyond self-regulation. It includes understanding and responding effectively to the emotions of others. The ability to read, empathize, and communicate with composure enhances influence, negotiation, and collaboration. Leaders who manage their emotions while understanding those of others create environments of trust and efficiency. Emotional control, therefore, amplifies not only personal performance, but collective outcomes. Stress inoculation enhances resilience. Intentionally exposing oneself to manageable levels of pressure builds tolerance for emotional disruption. Practice high-stakes scenarios, simulations, or challenging conversations to strengthen coping mechanisms. Controlled exposure creates familiarity with tension, reducing fear and panic when real situations arise. Each successful navigation under pressure reinforces confidence, reduces anxiety, and establishes patterns of deliberate emotional response. Reflection strengthens learning from emotional experiences. After high-pressure events, analyze responses critically. What worked, what did not, and how could reactions be improved? Identify patterns, biases, or habits that influence behavior. Reflection transforms experience into insight, ensuring that emotional growth is continuous rather than episodic. Deliberate review of emotional performance fosters adaptability and refinement of strategies. Focus on controllable elements reduces unnecessary emotional expenditure. Many individuals expend energy on events, judgments, or outcomes outside their influence. By concentrating effort on actions, decisions, and attitudes within control, emotional energy is conserved and applied strategically. Acceptance of uncontrollable factors decreases frustration, while deliberate action in controllable domains enhances efficacy and confidence. Recognition of impermanence is a stabilizing principle. Emotions are transient states. They rise, peak, and fade. Observing this natural cycle allows for patience and perspective, preventing overreaction to temporary disturbances. Understanding impermanence encourages measured responses, reduces impulsivity, and maintains clarity of thought under pressure. Emotional control is enhanced when temporary states are seen as passing rather than definitive. Start with incremental exercises. Practice pausing before responding in minor frustrations. Apply deep breathing or visualization before entering stressful environments. Record reactions in a journal and note improvements or setbacks. Gradually, these micro-practices scale into robust emotional control, capable of handling complex challenges. Mastery is cumulative, built through small, deliberate, and consistent steps rather than dramatic leaps. Controlling emotions maximizes performance because energy, focus, and decision-making are optimized. Calm minds solve problems more efficiently, react strategically, and maintain composure when stakes are high. Emotional mastery transforms obstacles into opportunities, fear into focus, and pressure into productivity. Performance is no longer hostage to mood swings, impulses, or stress, but directed, deliberate, and sustainable. Ultimately, the individual who masters emotional control leads themselves rather than being led by circumstance. Thoughts and feelings become instruments rather than impediments. Decisions align with intention, action with purpose, and performance with potential. Emotional regulation is not a skill reserved for the naturally calm. It is cultivated through awareness, practice, reflection, and discipline. Those who invest in controlling their emotional landscape unlock the capacity to excel consistently, regardless of external turbulence, achieving results that are deliberate, powerful, and enduring. Number 10. Lead by example. Inspire others. Leadership is not defined by titles, authority, or accolades. True influence emerges from actions, consistency, and integrity. People are inspired not by words alone, but by observing behavior that aligns with values and purpose. Leading by example is the principle that bridges vision and impact. It demonstrates what is possible, sets standards, and motivates others to rise beyond their perceived limits. Every choice, habit, and response becomes a statement of possibility, creating ripples that extend far beyond immediate tasks or personal achievement. The first principle of leading by example is authenticity. People are attuned to inconsistencies. They notice when behavior contradicts claimed values. Authentic leaders demonstrate alignment between intentions and actions, showing that principles are not abstract concepts but living, practiced realities. Authenticity generates credibility, trust, and influence, because others see that adherence to standards is non-negotiable, even in unseen or inconvenient moments. When actions reflect core values consistently, others are naturally drawn to emulate, follow, and respect. Consistency reinforces example. One moment of excellence cannot compensate for repeated neglect. To inspire, behavior must be sustained across circumstances, challenges, and pressures. Discipline, punctuality, focus, and fairness, repeated over time, create a culture of reliability. Others absorb these cues subconsciously, adopting patterns of behavior, resilience, and accountability. Consistency demonstrates that excellence is a choice, not a circumstance, and it establishes a benchmark for performance and character that becomes aspirational for those around you. Courage amplifies influence. Leading by example often involves making difficult decisions, standing for principles, or taking paths that others avoid. It requires a willingness to act in alignment with values even when it invites scrutiny, criticism, or discomfort. Courage signals that integrity and commitment matter more than approval or convenience. Observers internalize this courage, learning that risk and persistence are necessary for growth. Inspiration is born when others witness steadfastness under pressure and realize that they too can navigate challenge with composure. Humility is essential to effective example setting. Leadership is not self-aggrandizement, it is service through demonstration. Admitting mistakes, learning openly, and acknowledging contributions of others communicates that growth, effort, and collaboration are valued. Humility humanizes leadership, making it relatable, approachable, and motivational. When others see vulnerability paired with responsibility and improvement, they understand that leadership is about potential realized, not perfection displayed. Humility transforms influence into sustainable guidance rather than superficial compliance. Action precedes instruction. Words instruct, but actions inspire. Leaders who demand punctuality, accountability, or excellence must embody these principles visibly. If a standard is communicated but not practiced, credibility erodes and morale diminishes. By modeling behavior in alignment with expectations, leaders establish authority grounded in experience and example. Observers learn more from repeated demonstration than from advice alone. Action conveys priorities, standards, and discipline in ways that words cannot replicate. Responsibility is demonstrated through ownership. Leading by example means accepting outcomes, both successes and failures, without deflection. It shows that accountability is not optional, that commitment is measured by follow-through, and that ethical standards are adhered to regardless of convenience. Observers learn that true leadership requires owning results, which encourages personal accountability and cultivates a culture where initiative, honesty, and integrity are reinforced organically. Communication reinforces example without replacing it. Transparent, clear, and principled communication complements action. Explaining decisions, articulating rationale, and sharing lessons allows others to understand the alignment between values and behavior. It bridges observation and comprehension, providing context that strengthens the motivational impact of example. People are inspired not only by what they see, but also by the clarity and reasoning that underpin those behaviors. Mentorship amplifies influence. Leading by example includes guiding others through demonstration while providing support and insight. Mentorship leverages proximity to modeled behavior, allowing learners to internalize standards and techniques more effectively. Sharing methods, explaining strategies, and providing constructive feedback creates an environment where inspiration is paired with tangible learning. Influence deepens when people can observe, reflect, and replicate excellence within a supportive structure. Resilience and composure are contagious. Observers notice how challenges, criticism, and setbacks are handled. Leaders who maintain calm, think strategically under pressure, and persist despite obstacles model behavior that others emulate. Emotional stability communicates that difficulties are manageable and that perseverance is a conscious choice. Leading with composure instills confidence, reduces panic or fear-driven reactions, and inspires others to approach adversity with rationality and determination. Visionary alignment is essential. Every example set should be tied to a larger purpose or mission. Demonstrating effort, discipline, and strategic focus is more compelling when it is clearly connected to meaningful goals. Observers understand not only the how, but the why, giving context and significance to modeled behaviors. Purpose-driven actions resonate more deeply, motivating others to align effort with vision rather than mimic behavior blindly. Empathy strengthens the influence of example. Leadership is relational. It is not enough to act directly in isolation. Understanding others' perspectives, needs, and challenges informs how examples are communicated and internalized. Demonstrating patience, encouragement, and awareness in interactions models relational competence as well as technical or ethical standards. Empathy ensures that the inspiration generated is sustainable, meaningful, and connected to human experience. Reflection magnifies impact. Leaders should periodically evaluate how actions are perceived and internalized by others. Are behaviors consistent, constructive, and motivating? What adjustments could enhance clarity, influence, or integrity? Reflection prevents complacency, ensuring that example remains dynamic, relevant, and effective. Continuous evaluation ensures that leadership through action is intentional rather than habitual, strengthening both personal growth and the capacity to inspire others. Leading by example often requires sacrifice. Prioritizing values, mission, and standards over convenience, comfort, or popularity demonstrates that commitment is real. Observers recognize that the effort and discipline demanded of themselves are mirrored by the actions of their leader. Sacrifice validates the importance of principles, motivating others to align effort with demonstrated priorities. Influence is reinforced when behavior illustrates that leadership entails cost, effort, and integrity. Collaboration enhances example. Leading within a team context requires demonstrating cooperative behavior, recognition of contributions, and effective conflict resolution. Collaborative modeling shows that excellence is not solely individual, but relational and systemic. Observers learn that leadership includes fostering success in others, not dominating, which encourages culture building, mutual support, and collective achievement. Storytelling enhances the resonance of example. Sharing experiences of challenge, growth, and learning contextualizes behavior, allowing observers to understand effort, mistakes, and perseverance. Stories connect action to narrative, providing meaning beyond simple observation. When people see not only behavior but the journey behind it, inspiration is amplified, illustrating that progress is attainable, realistic, and replicable. Small actions accumulate. Leading by example is not only about grand gestures but consistent demonstration in daily habits, interactions, and decisions. Consistent integrity, effort, attention to detail, and kindness signal standards subtly but powerfully over time. Observers internalize these repeated patterns, often more deeply than overt commands or visible achievements. Influence grows quietly through the accumulation of small, deliberate behaviors. Begin immediately by identifying behaviors that reflect core values, mission, and standards. Model them consistently in every context, from high-stakes projects to everyday interactions. Pair action with transparent communication and reflection to reinforce understanding. Encourage learning through observation and mentorship, and maintain resilience, empathy, and composure to inspire confidence. Over time, consistent example becomes the foundation for influence, shaping culture, performance, and potential in ways words alone cannot achieve. Leading by example is the ultimate form of influence. It transcends instruction, authority, and recognition, creating impact through observable, repeatable, and principled action. Those who follow are inspired not by titles or commands, but by seeing what is possible when discipline, integrity, courage, and vision are embodied consistently. Influence becomes natural, leadership becomes authentic, and inspiration becomes inevitable when actions consistently reflect values, purpose, and commitment to excellence.